Hello and Happy New Year. I am Laura Pusey. Thank you for joining me. This is Dippism, which stands for Death in Practice. I know it sounds a bit gloomy, but really I hope that I can kind of bring a little bit of life to death so that we can have conversations that normalise it. It's the inevitable. To start today's message, I want to say Happy New Year once again. The 20th of March marked the spring equinox. It's time to spring into the new. For those of you who, like me, have been carrying that feeling of walking in treacle backwards up Mount Everest whilst holding the whole world on your shoulders, hopefully now it's time to put it down and let the energies of a new year, of a new age, spring into being. Let's do this. We've got this. Come on now. This is what we do. We keep going. We certainly do. Last weekend was Mother's Day. And I know that many people were dreading it because their mothers or their children were no longer with them. Many people wondered how they would make it through the day and whether it was their first Mother's Day without their loved one, or it was the next in a string of years worth of Mother's Days. They did get through it, I'm sure. The grand majority of us, 1 hour at a time. Personally, I did plan to do a nice video about Mother's Day, but let's just say that the spirit had me hold off for a while. Yes, I said that. I'm working with energy, and sometimes I am instructed not to post. So when I am missing, it's not that I'm being flaky. It's that today's not the day. It just so happens that today is the day. It's spring and we have forward movement. Therefore, this week, I'm going to tell you about my mother. She was a Jehovah's Witness and she died true to her religion. I had turned my back on her religion some time ago, and so we scratch my head. We enjoyed a rather strained relationship, to say the least. When I visited my mother in hospital, she told me that she might be dying, her whether we could rebuild our relationship, and she said no. She died, and I didn't go to her funeral. My mother was happy to transition with the belief that she had stayed true to her God. She had stuck by the rules as translated by the witnesses, and she believed that she would be rewarded on earth as a result. Now, I'm not going to start preaching to you the religion of the witnesses, but they do believe that they're going to live forever on a paradise earth with their lost loved ones. My mother's story is a sad one, and I will probably share it with you in its entirety as this journey progresses. But as far as I'm concerned, my mother did the right thing. She died true to her beliefs. And at times when people hear what I say, they kind of come up with their own ideas of what's right and wrong, you know. And I suppose for many years I carried my own judgments, but I always believed that what she did was right for her. When I asked my mother if we could be a family again, she had one decision to make. And she used her faith and her belief and her free will to make that decision. We all have free will. And at every moment of every day, we have the ability to change the course of our lives. my mother made decisions and she stuck to them. And I salute her for doing so. And that's why I'm also saluting the late president of Tanzania, John Pombe Magufuli. Some say that he was murdered, but if so, it's because he stuck to what he believed was right and true for himself and his people. African countries are very rich. They have a lot of wealth. They have a lot of minerals and resources that are used to fuel the whole world. Unfortunately, people from other countries are so used to going into Africa and taking those resources for themselves and leaving the people with very little to survive on. In truth, Africa is the richest continent on earth, and yet it is the most raped, for want of better word. So the president of Tanzania, John Pombe Magufuli, he was trying to end the systems of oppression that keep the citizens of these countries on a level where they are just about surviving. And because he said no, because he dared to say no and to mean it, he went to his grave, or he's not yet been buried, but he made his transition with that faith in his heart that he was doing the right thing. When my mother passed away, I reasoned that her conviction must have been so strong that making a decision about whether or not to talk to me, her child, was an easy one. I don't think she actually had to really wrestle over it. You know, there are some things that are like a no-brainer. And although we want the best for our children in life, we have to realize that they have their journey, that they have come to earth to live, and that we can't always do what everybody wants us to do. I couldn't do what my mum wanted me to do, and she couldn't do what I wanted her to do. Sometimes it's like that. And the thing about death is that it has the capacity to streams of events for lifetimes and decades and centuries and ages. We are born into lifetimes. We are born into bloodlines that carry certain frequencies that, to an extent, dictate the decisions that we make, even though we don't realize it. This thing that's called free will is so complicated and massive for us to comprehend. And, you know, once we make that transition, we might just be like, oh, that's what free will was. Piece of cake. What was the fight about? What was the worry about? I don't want to go to my grave, or I don't want to make my transition having not lived my life to its fullest capacity. And if you have a work that you have come to earth to do, be assured that it will be done. It will be done. And there are times when we do upset the people that we care most about. And there are times when those people are no longer in our lives. Sometimes they walk out willingly. Sometimes they are pushed, and sometimes people pass away. Okay, we all passed away in the end. I think that was one thing that got me about my dad's passing. It was that sudden realization that no matter what you do, no matter what you say, the transition will come to us all. So I think that it being spring, it being the start of a new time, we're in the cycle of Aquarius, I just want to say to you, live as fully and as authentically as you can within your body. You didn't come here to please anybody. All you came here to do is fulfill the journey of your soul. My lecturer at university said, if you're not pissing people off, then you're doing something wrong. So live your life. I think I pissed him off. Live your life. Live your life and make it matter. Whatever decision you make it with your heart. Yeah. Whatever decision you make about whatever pertains to yourself, make it with your own heart. Don't be swayed by the opinions or the thoughts or the murmurings or the looks of disapproval by other people. We all have our own journey. And so at the end of the day, we have to make our own decisions. Okay, that's it. I'm out. Live good. And I hope to be with you again this time next week. Take care for now.